Then I will say good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for aACE Software's Discovery Track series. This is the third webinar in the series, and we will be covering sales orders. First, we will introduce your hosts. My name is Ashley Harker, and I am a project manager at aACE Software. Michael Bethy, founder and CEO of aACE, is here to walk you through sales orders. Michael, would you like to say a couple words about yourself? Just jump in.
Oh, let's see, they catch me all the time unprepared. No, I talk plenty. You did a great job.
Okay,
That's all people need to know for today.
Okay, sounds good. So we have launched this new series of webinars that aligns with the aACE Implementation Discovery Track. This is number 3 of 8 learning sessions in the series. These webinars will guide you through a foundational understanding of aACE. And though aACE has tons of features to leverage, this series is an overview of the core functionality. We will be offering webinars on more advanced topics, so keep your eye on aACE's website and join us for those. A few more details. This webinar is being recorded, and after this meeting, we will send you a link so that you can download the recording. All participants are muted, but if you'd like to ask questions about what you are seeing, please do so at any time using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Don't be shy. We really appreciate questions, and Michael is here and he can answer anything that you throw at him. So with that, I will pass the microphone to Michael, and you can jump in and share your screen.
All right, good morning, everyone. I don't know about anything you throw at me, but I'll do my best to answer specific questions.
I really set you up for a challenge. I like it.
Right.
Did we get an intro for Aaron? Did we get an intro for Aaron?
We didn't.
No.
This is Aaron, our product specialist.
Good morning.
All right, let me share my screen. We don't have a ton of time, and I got a lot to cover, so I'm going to go ahead and just.
So unusual from our other webinars.
I know. Aaron is our comedian, just so everyone else knows.
I'm the fun one.
Okay, so I want to talk about sort of where we are in the discovery process. You heard a little bit from Ashley about that. If you said, okay, where are we on this graph? I would say we're probably at this, first little bubble here. The stated objective of this webinar is really to reinforce what we learned last time, how transactions work, how dots connect in aACE. But this is also where we start to introduce automation. There's a lot more automation on the revenue side of your potential automation on the revenue side of your business than on the expenses side of your business. A lot of times with, whether it's receiving goods or paying rent or whatever, you're reacting to events. On the revenue side of things, you're acting, right? You're scheduling, things are triggering other things to happen and so forth. So there's a lot of potential for automation. So, and cutting out data entry, right? So there's going to be a fair amount of talk along those lines today. This is also sort of it's interesting how these processes go. During the first webinar, during the second webinar, kind of a common criticism is it's too slow. Well, once we get here, the criticism is it's too fast. Everyone that wasn't paying attention in the last 2 webinars suddenly gets overwhelmed. Because everything builds on each other, right? So we're gonna touch on POs today because it's part of the sales order workflow, but I'm not gonna spend a lot of time there because we spent time on that last week. So if you're beginning your discovery track, this is the first webinar you've joined, or it's the first webinar you are watching, just know that there are going to be entire portions of today's webinar that we're just going to blaze through because we covered them previously. We covered those topics previously. For the first 3 months of any new version's release, we release an integer version every 5 to 6 years. You can see that on the About page of our website. They are massive, massive, massive updates. There's no way for us to test everything from every angle, and then we fix things, and then we got to test everything again because we might have broken something, etc. So we recognize the reality that we're all accustomed to with software, which is that the first couple months of use during the first couple of months of use, you identify a lot of bugs. And so we built that into our plan, and we're as aggressive as possible about fixing them. But we are working with brand new software today. The press release for the software, the final version of the software was cut and went out last Friday, like not even a week ago. So if we find something, it is expected that we will find something unexpected. So that's my little disclaimer. I'll be giving that disclaimer probably for the first couple of months of the software. So with those disclaimers out of the way, let's hop into the content. Okay, let me open up the system here. All right, and let's hop into orders. So just a quick conversation about order rec types. We have different order record types in the system. So you can have a sales order, you can have a production order, you can have a service order. The record type drives behavior, right? It drives automation, it drives the interface, it drives a lot, right? So one of the things we need to do during the discovery process with an individual customer is figure out, okay, which record type is applicable to them? Are they going to use multiple record types? It's not uncommon for a customer to use just one or all three, right? The differences between the record types or among the record types are covered in specific webinars. So next week, we'll be talking about production orders. We previously talked about service orders. Today, we're going to be working with sales orders. And we're going to be working again with kind of foundational workflows, but you can put foundational in quotes because you can see, you'll be able to see that quickly it becomes quite robust. So let me go ahead and create a sales order. I do have a little note here that, and I should talk about it, like which record type you use is a preference, whether you use multiple is a preference, and you can even have different user groups with different preferences. So you may have a group that produces production orders, you may have a group that produces and works on service orders, and you may have a group that manages the distribution sales orders. So there's a lot of power around how you can configure the software to work with those kinds of environments. That's one of the benefits of aACE. We're not trying to force people into one small box. So let me go ahead and enter a customer here. We saw this last time, but let's look at some new things. So this auto-generated, it auto-selected Sam as our default contact. If I look over here at this customer, we can see that Sam is designated as our default. It also brought in a different ship to address and a different ship to contact. That's because you can have any number of addresses and locations in for a single customer. You can designate which one is the default, and then that particular office can have a default contact. So pretty cool stuff. There's also some shipping notes in there that you saw come through. Please use extra bubble wrap. We set that up in the customer as well, so that it was automatically communicated to the person managing the order. These notes can be edited from this perspective, and once there are additional shipments, maybe once shipments are created, changes to those notes actually will update the related shipments. So lots of cool functionality for another day. Let's go ahead and enter a different customer just so you can see a different behavior, some different features. I'm gonna enter Douglas Fairbanks. So you can see here billing notes. So here we're seeing, double check the billing address. Some invoices go to the school, others go to the school district. We also see this little warning icon hovering over it, tells us that this customer's AR balance is $50,000. And if I click it, it'll take me to their invoices. Pretty cool. If you're living in one of those worlds where you've got, a Google spreadsheet over here and QuickBooks over here, forget about it. You're not getting this kind of functionality. But this kind of stuff is really important. It works on the payable side of things too. You can communicate, someone who's managing the business can communicate things to the other members of the team automatically, all right, without the need for, reminders and memos, things of that sort. So let me continue down my list. So I've got this note here, possible entry values. Let's select this. Some of these notes are from my AACE 5 demo. So what that is a note about is that I don't have to enter TB lit 102. Notice that it auto selects the code for me. Super cool, super handy for power users, new to AACE 6. I could also enter the SKU. I could enter the manufacturer's part number. If we have rate cards for customers and they have a customer product, I don't think it's on the list for you, but if they have their own code, right, we could enter that. We could enter the vendor's product code. We could barcode. We could scan in any of these values. We can do word searches. So there's a lot of ways to get this value, and it can be from, it can be using type ahead, right, like this, where we can see the inventory balances in case there are possible alternatives, or it can be barcode scanning, right, tons. And then of course you got the magnifying glasses that we reviewed last time. Presentation matters. So let me come in here. Let's say we want to emphasize that this is the complete works of Shakespeare. We can customize this stuff. You'd believe how big of a deal that is. You would not believe how big of a deal that is for some of our customers who produce long orders, and they want to make it look more like a Word document with maybe a line that's bolded as a subheader, that kind of stuff, especially in a production environment. And you wouldn't believe how much just a little bit of formatting, red, underline, et cetera, can do. Not something you can do in a lot of systems. So it's worth pointing out. Let's look a little more automation. Let's add notebook 11. This auto entered some notes for us. Pretty neat. It also auto entered a quantity of 20 because that corresponds to a single case. I don't know, do I have pictures associated with this guy? I guess I do. Oh, okay, nice. Cool. So you can have photos in there, and then you can print an order with photos as well. That's important for some of our customers. Let's talk about alts and upgrades. So here we have a 7-inch screen tablet. We've got 2 alts. So maybe we're running low and they want a lot. Maybe the 8-inch is an alternative. Maybe the 9-inch is an alternative, right? They're substitutes, essentially. I'm giving you a retail example, but real common in a manufacturing example. What if you're starting from a template? What if you're importing from SolidWorks and the adhesive that's called for is low, but there's an alternative? A particular, bold might be swappable for another.
And those alternate products will replace the original line item code, right?
That's correct. Okay. That's what an alt is. It just swaps it out. Upgrades are complementary products. So if I'm going to order the tablet, do I also want the case? Do I also want the screen protector? Right. So I can go ahead and select those, and it will add them underneath. We're going to talk about this a little bit more next week at the production webinar. But this starts to create like a bundle for the customer. And then we can do cool things like establish quantity relationships. This is a feature you can turn off if that's not applicable. With this in mind, a brand new feature to 6, super excited about it. It's amazing like how like small details make a difference. Hey, in one line, that's our pitch. But check this out. TB French 3. It auto added my workbook with the same quantity relationship. So theory there is it's a textbook. Basically, it always comes with the workbook. Is it an upgrade? Yes. But we want the workflow not to be that the user has to add it. We want the workflow to be that the user has to remove it. in this case. And that's actually a very, very important distinction. So we're excited about that. And then of course there's case quantities here. They work the same way. And if you do stuff like you know, like this, you get some pretty cool, you know, some pretty cool features. So I'd have to go back and retrace my steps there because it went back to 0. It rounded down to 0. I guess that's right. If I put in 12, 0
Yeah.
would be down. But
Technically.
anyways, yeah, okay. But you saw a little back order flag toggling depending on whether we have sufficient inventory. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but this just gives you an idea, and we'll talk about this plus button next week. But this just gives you an idea of some of the power that's accessible to you that is like just below the surface. And that's kind of how we want it in the software. We don't want to have like a million buttons cluttering the interface, but we also want to give those power users what they need. We also want to give the power users who are setting up and managing the system and managing people, we want to give them the tools that they need to communicate to the people who are using the system, even if they're much less savvy. So, all right, let me go ahead and hit save. We're gonna talk about these checkboxes later, and let's look at printing and order status because we did exactly that last week. So I'm gonna select not yet. I'm gonna print this out. This prints out as a quote with a signature line because it's pending. This could be an estimate, it could also be a proposal, could be something else. This is a preference, and we're going to see preferences you know, shortly. But this gives you an idea. You can see here that the complete is bolded, and you can get a sense just even from looking at that how useful that could be. All right. So let's go ahead and open this. I'll print it out once more. All right, orders being opened by the server. Cool. Right, so now it prints out as a sales order. This is actually, I know I'm a broken record, but this is a bigger deal than it looks like because a lot of systems have like one interface that's a quote and then one interface that's the order. And so if you want to change the way you quote, change how a quote looks, and you still want that ability in the order, you got to do it twice. And as you saw on Tuesday, when we talked about the aACE in the browser, not needing to do something twice is a really big deal. So the order interface is the quoting interface, and you'll see that more when we talk about sales leads and such. Okay, so let's do just like we did last week, and let's take a look at the overview. This is a little bit more robust. There's a reason we start with POs, right? We're gonna build on that. So the modules build on one another. But this tells us what was ordered. For this particular order, we're just shipping and we're just invoicing. When it comes to shipping, invoicing, procurement, production, there are a lot of preferences. So let's just look at this because this is really where the discovery process kicks in. People say to me in sales calls, give me a demo. And I'm like, okay, what are your preferences going to be? Tell me your preferences. And then, of course, their eyes gloss over because where do you even begin, right? You need to be trained on all of this. But here in shipping, do returns reduce the order quantity, or are we going to reship replacements? Are we syncing dates? Are we auto-generating shipments? Are we generating shipments for pickup orders? This is, true in certain cases. Are we appending shipments by ship to location? What if there's 10 orders all going to the same place? Port of Houston helipad. That should be one shipment. Maybe that's going to get loaded into a truck, not 6 dozen that someone's got to manually, put all together. The same kind of thing exists in production. What are we automating? What are we not? Same thing with procurement. Are we auto-generating things? Are we not? Is there approval logic? Same thing with billing and invoices. Even within the order, we can set preferences and default values. Do we want to hold this order's shipment items until their designated ship date? Generally, you don't, but we have some customers that, let's say, sell chlorine to resorts for pools. They don't want that arriving until the pool is going to be opened within a few days. Because what are they going to do? Like have chlorine sitting outside in Florida, right? Like you'll lose, of course not, right? So other customers might want to hold a shipment until a deposit's received. We've got a whole infrastructure for that. So it's just a little disclaimer that there's just a lot of power in the system. And so what you're going to hear me say today is I've configured this order to. So I have configured this order to auto-generate outgoing shipments. So in the shipping and receiving section, we can see everything that needs to ship, what's ready to ship. That's a function in is it back ordered, not produced, not how many have shipped. And I had it auto-generate our outgoing shipment. We'll talk a little bit more about bins and things of that sort in inventory. And there are a zillion and one sort of workflows and considerations surrounding shipments and costs and integrations and labels and all kinds of stuff. We're going to go ahead and fast forward through that for today's purposes and just mark this as shipped. What you're going to notice is that an invoice link is going to appear down here because I have configured this system to generate an invoice on shipment. So that's how we work. We generate an invoice on shipment. Last week, we talked about how oftentimes with a shipment, you get the vendor's invoice. Okay, we're the vendor today. We're sending them an invoice. So that auto-generated an invoice with a tracking status to be sent. Lots of functionality surrounding auto-delivering invoices. You can get from the shipment to the invoice, just as you saw, you can get from the invoice to the shipment in one click as well. So this was the purchase last week. This outgoing shipment was the incoming shipment last week. The sales order is the PO last week. We can see that this order auto-closed. And if we look at it, we'll see that it was auto-closed via that invoice, just like we saw last week. So what you saw today was reinforcing everything that you learned last week, but we started to introduce a lot of additional functionality. That additional functionality is why you buy aACE. Right, automating these workflows is why you buy aACE. Okay, so certainly talked about all that. There's a really cool feature. We'll probably look at it. That's new 6. We'll probably look at it next week. But you can have workflows for an order as well as workflows for specific lines. It's sort of very cool when you have, like for us, someone says go. Okay, we need to set up a discovery system. We need to create a logo for the discovery system. We need to, do X, Y, Z for an order that is a discovery, right? We could make that part of a workflow in here. So that's something we can come back to. Stocked inventory, we already saw that. What you just saw was all stocked inventory. We shipped it, we invoiced it. We didn't introduce any deposit logic or anything like that, although we have very good tools. Let's drop ship, because this starts to build on what we learned last week. So Chadwick calls us up and they need 1,000 tablets. That is way more than we ever stock. And they need them tomorrow. So I'm not going to back order this. I'm not going to send them the 166. You saw a split workflow, not for today's webinar. I'm instead going to have our supplier LearnRight just drop ship the goods directly to them. So I flagged this drop ship line, little checkbox. This is the part of the webinar where you're going to see me blaze through what we talked about last week. I'm going to go ahead and open this order. Okay. If we look at our management view, this time we need to procure 1,000 and we need to invoice 1,000, but we're not shipping it. The vendor is shipping the goods to the customer. I have configured this system to auto-generate POs. So it went ahead and auto-generated the PO. Here's our vendor. Here's Chadwick High School. There's a really cool feature in here. If you notice, the description here is different than here. That's because this vendor has a different description. And so they even have a different code. So the system supports having your own codes and your own descriptions, but then maybe you've got 10 vendors all selling the product with slightly different descriptions or slightly different codes. You can still do that. You don't need separate codes in your own system. So very cool feature.
Michael,
But yeah.
if we wanted to blind ship this to our customers so they don't know who we're buying it from or what have you, is there a way we could do that?
Yeah, we do support blind drop shipping. And there's some cool functionality about that or surrounding that. You can even like brand it with the bill to customers branding. It's cool.
Nice.
I don't have time for today, but yes,
No.
that's the short answer. I'm gonna go ahead and open this PO. You know, we sent it, we reviewed all this last week. With drop shipments, we're not managing shipping. We're not gonna receive it in, they are. So the purchasing is the shipping event, because typically what they'll do is they'll ship it and then they'll send us the invoice. So I'm gonna go ahead and just create our purchase. Okay, I use the time just so I'm never using the same numbers. So we'll do that. Okay, there we go. This is a nice big order. I'm gonna hit not yet, just so I can show you something. If we go over here, there's no invoice. I have configured this system too. There's that phrase of mine. I have configured this system too. I don't know if did I finish my thought? I don't think I did.
You
Need more
didn't.
coffee.
Yep.
I've configured the system to auto-generate invoices when drop shipment purchases are open. So there's our invoice. But that, and I want to show you special orders real quick, and I'm conscious of time because we're supposed to do this in half an hour. I never, just so you know, I never achieve that. Anyways, I'm just going to blaze through. Let me show you special ordering. Auto generate. Okay, so let's just do the same kind of thing for C caucus. But let's special order it. Special order is kind of a mix of what you've seen so far. What a special order means is we're going to procure it for the order, just like you saw, but we're going to receive it and then we're going to ship it. This is most common when there's a manufacturing process in between. Customer wants us to build something. We don't keep everything that is required in stock. We're going to buy it. We're going to receive it. We're going to use it. And then ultimately we're going to ship a finished good. But you can still see that basic workflow here. And it's not uncommon that someone will special order something as needed just for a regular distribution order at all. But usually there's a reason that it needs to come there and then out rather than go directly to the customer. For a lot of our people coming to the software, the reason is just that their software doesn't support it. So they've been eating a lot of shipping costs. Okay, let me go ahead and open this PO. Saw all this stuff before. This is we're going to be receiving this, right? So we saw that the ship to was to the customer in the case of a drop shipment. This is just a regular PO. It's just, it happens to be attached to an order. So we're going to go ahead and receive it. Go ahead and just use the admin tool for generating an incoming shipment. Hit save. And before I push this through, let me just show you that there is no outgoing shipment. So we can see the incoming shipment. That's the record we're working on right now, in case we ever needed to get back to it. But there's no outgoing shipment. And ready to ship here is 0. We did not have this in stock. Let me go ahead and hit, and also watch. This is cool. This is sort of something new for aACE. Watch this corner up here. Go ahead and receive this. Okay, so that's going to send out the notice that we saw last week, like, hey, these goods have arrived, etc. That flagged this order as requiring a fulfillment update. The fulfillment update is what looks at an order and says, okay, what needs to be done? This ready to ship column went from 0 to 10. So the process circles back and says, hey, okay, we're shipping these goods. Do I need to hold the date, item based on the ship date? Am I still waiting for a deposit? Yada, 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 right? It checks all of those things that it might need to check, and it executes whatever our preferences tell it to execute. So in this system, we've said we're going to auto-generate outgoing shipments. So when this process runs, there it is, it's in progress, boom, there's our outgoing shipment. But 0 have been shipped. I'm going to go ahead and push this through. This is what we just saw, right? So it's going to generate that invoice. Boom. We look back at our order, it's closed. So what you just saw was we had a revenue event, a new sales order that required us to buy things before we could then ship things. And aACE did all of that automatically. I, as the customer service rep, I entered it, generated a PO. It sent the AP department, the procurement department, a notice, hey, this PO is auto-generated, so that they could review it, deliver it. They may review it and say, you know what, we're $10 below free freight. Freight's $1,000. Let's add a unit, right? So it's useful to have a human take a look at these things. And that's the goal with aACE. Insert humans where humans are add value. We received the goods, and then aACE automatically went and shipped the goods, generated a shipment. The shipping department would then process the shipment. That would auto-generate an invoice. The invoicing department, the AR department, sees their invoices that say to be sent and clicks send invoices. Why is that important? Because if there's a bounce back, it comes back into their inbox and they can manage it, make sure that invoice gets into the hands of the customer and not lost in some no reply inbox. So cool stuff. We're very proud of it. I hope you like what you've seen. It is absolutely game-changing for many of our customers. And for those of you who are aACE 4 or aACE 5 users, it's not fundamentally different than what you're used to, but you probably noticed along the way just lots of nice enhancements to the interface. And I will tell you that there's a lot of additional functionality built into these. And we have put a lot of time into tooltips like the one you're seeing here that give you more information about how the shipping cost was calculated and things of that sort. All right. Oh, ship type. One more topic, and then if you have questions, start queuing them up. I'm going to go ahead and create a new sales order. Doesn't matter to whom, but ship type. You can designate whether it's a pickup, whether it's complete, or whether partials are okay. So imagine, let's just touch on back order management. Let me find something here that's got kind of a low number. Okay, here we go. So this is complete. And actually, let me put something else in here. That one's back ordered. Let me take this off. What complete means is don't ship until we can ship them all. We want one shipment to reduce shipping costs. A ship type of partials okay means that we can generate multiple shipments. There's some really cool functionality. I'm going to come in here. Let's say the customer wants 30. We've designated that our default value is complete. It's another preference. Here it's giving me information about, it's just telling me that we don't have enough, and it's asking, do I want to split this up? And it's telling me that it will update this order ship type to partials okay in order to facilitate shipping the available quantity earlier and the back ordered quantity separately. So if I hit yes, this ship type goes to partials okay, right? This 9 units gets flagged as back ordered. So what we're going to end up with this order is 2 shipments. We're going to ship what we have, and then once the necessary stock comes in later, we're going to ship that in a separate shipment. But users have control through preferences and through these flags and these interfaces to decide those things, because depending on what you're selling, how much freight costs, things of that sort, you know, those answers can really make a difference. I should give this a price, right? So we have a margin.
Unless you're going to give it away for free.
Yeah, how much does this cost? 165. Oh, there we go. So let's give this a 50% margin. Could have done that. Pretty cool feature. You know? Lots of tooltips around to help people see what's going on in the system. So we're proud of those as well. All right, just do a little refresh here. That looks better. So that ship type, you have the same feature on the payable side. You can instruct the supplier, you know, are partials okay, or do they need to ship complete? Important stuff, simple stuff. But we're very proud of the value that it adds. Did we get any questions? You know, I've been talking really fast, but I had a lot of content to demo in a very short period of time.
No, we haven't gotten any questions. So maybe you've just been really clear, even though fast.
Crushing it,
Or
Michael.
everyone's
So fast.
busy. What the hell did I just see? I would, you know, we're going to send you the recording. For those of you going through the discovery track or even just demoing the software, feel free to watch the recording and hit pause and actually like take a second to consume what you're seeing, because I know I was going very, very fast.
Okay. Well, looks like there's no questions. So let's see. We will just wrap up for today. So that's all, but we hope to see you next Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern time when we continue our discovery track of webinars with production. Before we wrap up, I'd like to thank you for attending and for sharing. Well, you didn't share any questions, but thanks for being here. You will get a link to this recording so you can watch it again or share it with colleagues who weren't able to attend today. If you think of any questions that later on that we did not cover, you can reach out to us at sales@acesoft.com and we'll be happy to get you an answer. You can also sign up for future webinars at acesoft.com/webinars. Thanks again, and have a great rest of your week.